This is a review of Colonel Douglas Macgregor's Margin of Victory. I love this book. And in my opinion, it has two great features. One, it's just a great read for, enthusiasts of military history. But number two, it is a must read, in my opinion, for strategists, strategic advisors, consultants, coaches, even senior executives. Now, since I work in the private sector and I do strategic advisory work, I can say that this book is a gem. It's one of those rare books that is sometimes so important that I jealously try to keep to myself and really own to my clients. But since the Colonel has such a reputation now, and he's really been on so many news networks, might as well share this review. First of all, just given his reputation, you should read the book. If you didn't know, Colonel Douglas Macgregor was the commander at the last major tank battle of the 20th century, 73 Easting. He was an unrivaled maverick at the National Training Center. And he was an author, a really prestigious author and thinker whose work was really mandatory reading for senior military leaders. I mean, really impressive. But you probably know him best from his guest appearances on Tucker Carlson show, which I think is the #1 primetime show on cable. Look, the fact is, I really enjoy the Colonel's writing. I enjoyed this book. And frankly, from a person who regularly gives the American people a realistic look into our military, our foreign policy, and especially into the ranks of our senior leaders, including the 4 stars, I think he deserves your attention. Really, what's Margin of Victory about? Really, I think there's really major one theme, which he says is, and that is that wars are won decades before they're fought, which really is an incredibly important point, especially if you're a senior executive. How important is development, business development, personal development? Incredibly important, because who knows when chaos is going to pop up and cause just disruption and disorder within the ranks. And if you're caught with your pants down, you're probably not in a good position. But if you have prepared for it, like many of the nations that Colonel Macgregor writes about in his book, I think you'll get some really good life lessons and about the really just the essential nature of preparedness. So, two things which are interesting about the book is, one, it's not your traditional military history book. It's not laden with personal stories or small unit narratives. Instead, though, it provides a strategic, holistic view of different battles, actual 5 major battles throughout the 20th century. And the Colonel ties them all together. Quote, "The battle described in each chapter is a tale of how strategy, technology, and military organization continually interact with each other in the broader context of national culture, history, and human capital to produce success or failure." So again, if you're in the private sector, one thing that so many people do is they just silo themselves. They get into marketing, sales, corporate communications, whatever it is. If you're going to be a successful business, you have to realize how they're all tied, to see holistically. And this book is just a great example, albeit in a very different nature in terms of warfare and conflict. I think it's a great avenue to go down, to read about how the holistic view can help you see. If it can help you understand war, I assure you can definitely bring it to your business. The second element, which I think is really interesting, is the emphasis on time and really the development of militaries prior to war, just how critical that is. And I mentioned to you earlier about just how wars are won decades before they're fought. I tell you, incredibly important, especially if you're working in the private sector as a consultant or strategic advisor. And let me say finally that this book is very readable. Oh, there's so many books out there which read like academic books that there's incomprehensible. This book is both scholarly and readable. The writing is crisp, clean, and clear. And how do I know? Because rarely, look, I'm a slow reader. I don't like a lot of academic books. Rarely did I have to go back and reread a sentence or paragraph to go back and figure out what the author is saying. He really does a fantastic work considering all the elements that he brings together. So, in sum, if you're interested in learning military history from a scholar and a disruptor, then Margin of Victory is a book for you. If you're interested in upping your game as a professional, as an advisor, or an element of support to an organization, then Margin of Victory should be on your bookshelf right now. You will not regret it. It is a very good read, very fascinating read. The author's fascinating. And I think just by getting into this book, I think you're going to open your interest to many other subjects which are related, which again, all helps you professionally. Thanks for listening.